Hey, 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 Dr. Minesha here, affectionately known as Dr. M, and I want to welcome you to the Peace Driven Leader Lounge, where we have real leaders who are serious about real transformation. They love, they live, they lead differently. And I've had the privilege to be able to connect with some of the most exceptional leaders all across the planet who have achieved some awesome things in life, but not at the compromise of their family. And so, with that being said, I would love to be able to introduce to you Denise. Thank you so much, Denise, for joining us in the lounge.
Oh, thank you for having me. So exciting.
Oh, absolutely. I turned off the notification, so I make sure that there's no noise going on in our background. But this is like a live, y'all. This is recorded, but it has a live feel. So when we edit, we don't edit things out. We really just want this to be a raw experience, because I feel like in a world of AI and a whole bunch of artificial experiences, that is refreshing to have no idea what Denise is going to say. And she has absolutely no idea what I'm going to say.
That's true. And
I
that is
always
life.
say
That's
we
the
like it
real
that
thing.
way. That's right. It's going to be okay. That's right. So if you keep following me, you'll find out that I'm lame, and that's just what it is. My kids tell me all the time. I have three teenagers. I just find things that rhyme. It's just my little quirky little superpower that I have.
I love it.
So we're gonna have fun today. So before we get started in the conversation, Denise, I really would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little landscape. Give us some context behind your world, what that looks like, and then we'll dive right into some combo.
Absolutely. So I am Denise Arnoudse. I am a ADHD business coach who works with amazing women whose brains, they just work on a different level. They work differently.
Love the way you said that.
And it has been such a ride and a joy to be um, able to partner up with them. I started as a lowly math major at Texas A&M and worked my way into the corporate world, working for a bank as a petroleum engineering technician and
All right.
building my own position when they hired me and said, "We don't know what we want you to do." And I went, "Okay,
Mm,
Jesus, take the wheel." And here I go.
I love it. I love it. So that's awesome. Now, are you married? Do you have children?
I am married. I've been married for, man, I don't want to say because I'm like, how long have I been married?
Has it been over
I
five
want
or
to
10 years?
say it's over 10,
All right,
less than
cool.
15, I think.
Okay, so
It's,
somewhere around that area. I
yes,
won't tell your
yes.
husband that you don't know how long you've been
I
married.
don't
I won't
remember.
tell
That is just how it is. And then I have three boys. It is a
him.
wild, it is my beautiful chaos over here. I've got a,
I've been hearing that lately. Beautiful chaos. That's kind
I
of been a
love that.
thing I've been hearing.
That is
Uh,
my term for it because they are
yes.
beautiful and it is chaotic. Can't wrangle that crew in.
Now, what are the ages?
I have a 10-year-old, another one who just turned 9, and a
Uh,
6-year-old. And
oh,
so,
wow. That's great. I love that for the parents in the room who are listening and decided to have children close. You can see that there are benefits. It's a little painful in the beginning, but as they get older, they kind
whew,
of keep each other company.
they do, they,
Either that or they
there
kill each
are,
other. Right.
it has been an interesting ride because I learned when a great book, it is a just gonna put a little plug out there for people who
Yes,
need a
I love
good
I love
book.
books. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
called, oh no, it's Siblings Without Rivalry. That's what it's called. Siblings Without Rivalry.
Mm.
And I thought the absolute best thing was the very beginning of the book. It said, if you are raising your children to be best friends, you are most likely going to fail. And I'm like, ooh, that hits hard. Like they said,
Mm.
our only goal is to raise kids who are kind and can like sit in a room together and be humans together.
Mm.
Um, because I can honestly say my kids are very different personalities.
Mm.
The oldest two only sometimes get along
Mm.
because the way that their brain shows up, they are
Mm.
often overstimulating one another. So they are often
Right.
causing problems in their
They're triggering one
personalities.
another.
They
Yeah.
are, and their personalities are very different. The things they like are very different. They may never be best friends, and that's not my
Mm.
goal.
That's
Um,
powerful. That's powerful.
but my
You
goal
know,
is to raise humans that can get along and
yeah,
be able to sit with each
yeah,
other and not argue the entire time.
exactly. Yeah, I love that so much. And one word that resonates with me that you say, and it's actually in the logo: love, live, lead differently. And you said they're so different. And I believe that that is a huge advantage and just a missed opportunity. I believe as just parent leaders is that we don't embrace the differences enough. It's almost like it makes us feel in more control when we can assume and predict and well the last child did this and then well your brother was like that, you know what I mean, and it kind of gives
Uh-huh.
us this blueprint that we want to like master a blueprint on. And that's one of the things, even when I reflect back and how, we were raised, it's like, yeah, you can't raise
Yes.
me the way you raised my sister or my brother. It's totally, completely different. So I would love to hear your thoughts about when you talked about how the brain processes. And the conversation can go both ways. For those who are listening, who are in the corporate space, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a parent, what we all have in common is that we people, whether you like it or not,
Uh-huh.
unless you're living in a shell under a rock, you
Yes.
have to be in the people business. That's what the world we live in today. And the more you can people well, the better, because again with the technology that's rising, those who can be more human, who can communicate with more emotional intelligence, who can lean in relationally, are going to be the ones
Mhm.
that win in the
Absolutely.
market that we're going into. So I would want to kind of unpack that with your background with ADHD.
Mhm.
I am also neurodivergent. I have 3 children
Yeah.
who are,
Yeah.
and to be in a home where you have so many different personalities on top of processing of the
Mm,
brain.
yes.
How do you navigate that when, I mean, outside of emotional intelligence, how do you navigate that?
I think that it first starts with yourself. We talk about this is such a hard concept for most women to handle, but um, the idea around really making sure the oxygen mask is on yourself first and then
Mhm.
helping, like they say it on every airplane,
Mhm.
but I know almost every mom is rolling her eyes going,
We've heard
how
that
could you
before.
watch your
Yes.
child suffer? Like, could you
Yes.
actually imagine trying to put a mask on myself before helping them because they're
Yeah.
suffering right now?
Yeah.
But the problem is when we haven't worked on ourselves, um, it's really hard
It is.
to work with your kids because if
Absolutely.
I don't know my own triggers, how am I supposed
Absolutely.
to help my kids recognize their triggers?
Absolutely.
And
100%.
it doesn't come naturally. It's not like you get this shiny, like, light that comes on that says, "Hey, this is a trigger." You actually have
Mhm.
to be very,
Mhm.
like,
Self-aware.
in tune with yourself
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
those triggers.
Yeah.
Um,
Listen, this is such a good conversation, Denise, because that's actually the primary reason why I switched over to parent leaders. Because I realized that even when it came to leadership, people didn't really feel the pain of why they needed to be a better person. You only have like 1% of the world that really just desires that. Like, people tell me all the time I'm a
yes.
unicorn. Like, who just likes honest criticism and feedback so they can be a better person? Me? I thought everybody would want that.
Yes. Why
No.
doesn't everyone want that?
I,
That sounds amazing. I mean, I
yeah.
do, but
The more direct, the better, you know? And so, so it's like that wasn't a thing. But then I was like, okay, well, leadership is definitely a thing. Like personal development, spiritual development, these are definitely important attributes. But no one really wanted to do it until it was connected to their children. Until they
ugh,
understood that if you want your child to be the best person that they can be, if you want them to be, self sufficient and independent, if you want them to not be entitled, you know, then these type of qualities only come from modeling because it
yes,
looks different in an adult form, even entitlement, from a
yes.
spiritual standpoint. There's adult entitlement, that there's adult tantrums, there's adult versions, of
It's so
everything,
true, isn't it?
you
Our
know?
adult tantrums, that's
Yeah.
real. That's a
Yeah.
real thing.
Yeah, and what
Uh,
I find is that when we do that, then we let in compassion because it's like, "Oh, shoot, I'm working on that too," and then it's like, "Oh, I know
yes,
exactly what you're going through," because and then you start parenting from this state of compassion versus critical and judgment, and the children feel
yes.
that, they can feel
It's
that.
really true. And although it'll feel like a tangent, bear with me. Um, well, when so I say I'm raising 3 boys. I also have a little girl in heaven. We
Mm,
miscarried at 18 weeks,
mm,
and she was the girl. The girl, and I know almost every woman out there goes, "You know the feeling when you find out you're gonna have a girl."
yeah.
Well, it was really hard to find out my girl wasn't going to be parented this side of heaven, basically. I was not going to have that same thing. And realizing that how much I had wrapped up in the identity of a girl and the idea of raising a girl, I had to do so much unpacking to realize how much I was going to put on this girl. All my
Mm,
hopes, all of my dreams, all the things I wanted to do with a little girl,
mm,
even though who is she?
mm,
I don't know who she was going to be. What personality type? Would she even like those things? And then
yeah.
not only that, I was saving some things and taking them away from my boys, for example, saving them for
Mm,
her and being like,
hmm,
well, they wouldn't do that, so I'm not going to do it with them. So I wasn't
hmm.
giving my full self to my boys even
Oh, wow.
because I was saving certain parts of me for her.
Yeah, that's so wow.
And then even bigger was the amount of times I realized I wanted her to take on things that I didn't experience.
Oh my gosh, that's a big one, Denise. That's a big
That
one.
was huge. And then
Yeah,
it turned into, well, then why am I not living for myself? I
yeah,
was going to put all this pressure on her to be so thankful and so grateful for all these things and opportunities she never asked for, when
right.
really it was my little inside girl going,
Yeah,
I want these things.
yeah,
So, in its
yeah.
own way, my daughter has been the biggest gift I ever received
Uh,
because I'm not the same person I would have been. I'm a much better mother. I'm a better person to myself. And I'm often looking at these things going, am I trying to do this for my kids or is there something missing in my own life that I'm wanting?
mhm.
Like if I want to dress up as a princess because
Hmm.
that's what you do with your little girl, then why
Yeah,
am I not getting out there dressing up like a princess? Like who says
yeah,
I have to do that for a little girl? I can do that. I can do
yeah,
that all day long.
yeah. People would look at you strange, but you definitely could.
Well, who cares?
No,
It's like
especially you. You mean that from the gut. Like, if you have ever met a person, oh, like, if you just saw Who Cares in the book, you would see a picture of Denise. Like,
yes, who
Denise
cares?
is the most unapologetic leader I know, and I love it. And I love your transparency. I love your vulnerability. It's
Yes.
not easy to be able to even confess something like that, and that's why I believe that children are is one of the greatest lessons because they mirror you in those areas, those blind spots often. that we
Yes.
don't see, you know, they reveal them to us through their behaviors and through their very existence. And so I can say even for my son, completely different, like curveball, wasn't expected. My oldest son, my youngest son finished potty train. I thought it was good. I had envisioned myself with my business scaling, traveling with the love of my life. Like I had it all figured out.
Yes, all the things.
And
Jesus,
then
take the wheel.
boom.
I'm taking it. Nope, it's coming back to me.
Listen, I was trying to lose weight and I wasn't losing. And then I went to the doctor and, you know, of course they have to test you. It's just a standard protocol. And it was right around COVID time. And she came back and she was like, you tested positive. I'm like, for COVID? What do you mean? She's like, you're pregnant. I'm like, you know, it's curveball. But if it wasn't for my son, and just recently diagnosed with autism, so that's a whole nother layer when you talk about the difference, right? And so if it wasn't for him, I would not have been in my calling. He was the child that really moved me into because I wanted to do business coaching and this and that because
Ugh,
that's what everybody wanted. And it was like, what if I told you that your calling was parenting? You know, that this was your thing, that your greatest gift was what you poured into your home. And he kept having incidents keep me in my home, and I was getting frustrated, not realizing that that was my ministry. That was it.
yes.
And when I had him and I had to get that unexpected emergency C-section, and I had to be home and I had to reflect and it's something how he uses those things. It's like
Mhm.
his birthed me into my destiny, you know, my
Yeah,
calling, my true calling. So for those of you who are listening, you know, I want you to take a moment and just pause and think about each one of your children. Even if you only have one child, I want you to just pause where you are and think about that child and think about what lesson is that child teaching you, you know, and sit there until the answer rises up and allow yourself to be a student as you're engaging with your child, understanding consciously that God has sent that child to to get out of you something greater, something bigger, right? And when the student arrives, the teacher shows up, you know,
absolutely.
yeah, so I would love to hear in terms of your work, you know, what is it that just makes your clients like what is the biggest result that they say that they get from working with you?
I think the biggest result they get is, and I feel like this is something that most people say, but um, it is the complete and utter peaceful calm they get. With ADHD, we often are running on those highs and then running those lows into the ground. Um, it doesn't sound super impactful to be like, oh, you're just calm. But in an ADHD brain, calm is
A big deal.
it's
A big deal.
huge when you're not having a million things racing, but you feel that peaceful calm to know where you need to go. Um,
Absolutely.
and so,
You
yes,
know what I
being able
think
to
is
put some
impactful?
blinders on.
You know, I think it's impactful work, Denise. You know, the work that you do is because calm is the catalyst. It's the gateway to clarity. It's hard
Yes.
to get clear if you're in a chaotic state, if you're in a state. That's why I'm still honestly trying to comprehend this trend that I hear, this beautiful chaos trend, because I'm just like, okay, they feel like oxymorons to me, but I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
I'm still processing because you know I practice what I preach. That's one of the things I tell the audience that hey, if something is said that you can't grab, lean in. Don't reject it yet. So I reserve the right to be wiser tomorrow, but as of today.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting in it and I'm thinking about, what you shared and the impact that you are making by giving leaders a blueprint on what that looks like. Now, is it more of a system that they implement or is it more like a lifestyle practice or tell us a little bit more about the how you do what you do.
So a lot of what I do is it's very personal. Every person looks very different
Mhm.
because if you've put five different people, not kids, any of us, with ADHD in a room, we will not look the same.
Absolutely.
And in business, they do not show up the same way. So how I am helping them to create their business, I'm looking for, in general, where they light up because we don't want to
Mm.
extinguish their sparks. We
Mhm.
want to cultivate those sparks while
Mm.
also not creating a bonfire. If you can't tell, I love metaphors, so I like
No,
we
that's cool.
tend
It helps
to
to
burn.
understand.
Yes,
I
we
love it.
as ADHD, we typically burn really bright, really fast, which would be our
Mhm.
hyper focus mode. And we get
Mhm.
really focused, really tight, and we'll stay in that sometimes for weeks on end. Um, then we also burn out and then go into, I can't do a single thing more. So what I'm looking for is balancing those
Got you.
out.
Yeah, the
I'm
two personalities.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at not only what lights you up and making sure your business kind of flows into the more what lights you up area. Also, I'm looking at how can you layer in some aspects into your personal life usually
Mhm.
that actually like keep you going. So this is
Mhm.
where you don't burn the bonfire quite as bright, but more a
Mhm.
steady burn, if you will,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
that when you are done with the workday, you give yourself permission to go do something else. And that's
Yeah.
actually one of the hardest things for someone with ADHD because our hyper focus makes us not want to leave. We want to
Absolutely.
stay.
Wanna stay. Absolutely, 1,000%. And that's where the workaholism came in for me, to be honest. E I got labeled a workaholic, and it was one of the most hurtful labels, because it had such a disdain, reputation. Workaholic really is somebody who's passionate about their work. When you when you put ADHD in the equation, then it helps you to properly see that perspective as far as being hyper focused. Because there's nothing wrong with
Yes.
being passionate about your work. It's just about not doing it at the mercy or at the sacrifice of the ones you love. That's where it becomes
Yes.
conflict. Yeah. And so,
Yes. I think with ADHD, our brains get stuck in a spot.
mhm.
And like once we're in that location in our brain, it's really hard to like choose to leave it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like why I think most of us with ADHD, I've never tested this theory, but I bet we could poll people. I have a really hard time leaving a fight.
Mm.
Because in that moment, like if it's a argument between me and someone else, it's actually
Mm.
really hard to say, "Oh, we are gonna take a break and then come back." I'm like, "No, my brain is here right now. I don't
Mhm.
want a break because if I take a
Mm.
break, I have to go somewhere else and then come back." Like that doesn't make sense.
Mm.
That that
Never
feels
thought about it in that
counterintuitive.
way. Yeah, I'm reflecting at myself and I'm like, yeah, actually. I definitely can see that. It feels abrupt. It's hard for the transition. Like,
Yes.
no, I wanna resolve now, and I'm scared that I'm gonna forget what I'm even
Yes.
talking about.
Yes. I mean, it's all these things, right? And so when you culminate that in a business, especially when you love what you do, now it becomes really hard to be like, oh, I'm allowed to go take a break. That just doesn't
Right.
even like, I'm not
Yeah,
thinking like that. So
yeah.
those are
Well,
the layers you have to
I
add
have a
in.
yeah, I have a really curveball question to ask you. So, you're the best person to do it. So, you have this client, corporate space, has a business, on the side, married for over, 20 years. The older they've gotten, the worse the ADHD condition has become because they haven't been in a while to get their dose and stuff. And so it's causing havoc in the personal life, right? But then when you go to work, you're winning, especially if you're in like a high intensity type of environment. You know, people
Yeah.
love what you do good at it. And so it's like you have this one, feeling and reputation. And then when you walk in the doors of your home, you feel like the failure, you know? And so what happens when you feel like the only reason why you even want to get a higher dose is simply because it's affecting the ones you love. You don't even feel the effects on you, but you're not remembering to put things back in the house, and your spouse is driving your spouse crazy. You're not, it's just things in just the operational work, impulsive spending, and different
Yeah.
things that are happening from just that literally has a direct impact on the marriage and the home. How do you assist someone as a client who really the primary pain point has absolutely nothing to really do with them per se? It's more so impacting the person that's not them, and and they haven't gotten to the point of self-awareness where they can see how it actually is affecting them personally.
Mm. So they're wanting change not for themselves really, but because the other person wants
Exactly.
change. So that's a big question.
I knew it was gonna be a curve.
And I love it because I have multiple thoughts on this one because I think usually what that person most likely is going to do, because this is probably a very high achieving masking
Yeah, for
ADHD
sure.
person,
Yes.
someone who has probably unfortunately had some trauma in the past,
Mm,
due to needing to be high achieving.
mhm,
And so if something is failing, I'm going to put quotes around that, failing, then they need to be achieving somewhere else to still have worth.
mhm,
And they
mhm,
don't want to see that actually that may be part of the problem.
mhm,
A lot of times, this is somebody who is avoiding home because they
mhm,
don't want to go home and
mhm.
be
Face
exposed
it.
to this.
Right. Mhm,
Yeah, that it feels icky, it feels not fun.
mhm,
Um, one of the biggest things I would say is reconnecting in with your values.
mm,
It's starting with who are you really at the root of everything? Um, is is this who you want to be? Um, and that's a hard one, the reconnecting back in with your values. So let's say you really do want to be a present
mhm.
spouse, but yet that's clearly
Not
you are
happening.
avoiding. Um, you can't change your spouse. You can't change them. But what you can do is you can start to make little small changes like I want my value to be family, let's say.
Mm,
Okay, so it's not just enough to say I want family. You need to actually go, if I want family, what does that look like? How can I
right.
implement that today?
Yeah, put
So,
wings on it, like I say. We gotta put some wings on it
yes.
and actually, yeah, moving into
Yes.
implementation, ideology to implementation, for sure.
And if you do that enough, because I've also seen where people think they have certain values and they'll
Oh,
document
yeah.
it. That because I
Oh,
actually have a
yeah.
journal all about documenting these things.
Mhm.
If you document it long enough, you might find that maybe family wasn't as high of a value for you,
Absolutely.
and you thought it needed to be, but it's actually not.
Mhm.
When you start to
1,000%.
discovering what your actual values are, they're what create the happiness at home when you're implementing these things. Um, you're filling yourself with the things that are most valuable to you and saying, I'm going to put these first in my life. I'm going to put these first. And because it's experimentation, when you start doing
Yeah,
this, you might find that what you thought was first is actually a little lower. Maybe it's not first though.
absolutely.
Like
I
maybe
love this
when
so
you
much, Denise.
reconnect with yourself and if
Yeah,
you're a high achiever, maybe it's, oh, I need to go for a daily walk, not a run because that's got a purpose, but I actually just need a daily walk um
yeah, yeah,
outside. All of a sudden when I come home, I actually am more present with my family. Who would have thunk it?
absolutely.
But it actually has that kind of like snowball.
Integration. Yeah,
So being okay with the experimentation of learning more about who you actually are.
I love that
I
so
don't
much,
know if
Denise.
that
And I
all
mean,
made sense with the
no,
whole
I mean,
like staying with your
when I
family,
tell
but it is
you,
complicated.
yeah, it is. But at the end of the day, it's still anchored. And the reason why I know that this is so powerful is because the I Lead We Rise app is, I'm so excited to be able to share this to the world. I'm so, so happy that you shared your answer and confirmation to the principles, standards, and values. For those who followed me long enough, you know that I talk about going back to that root. If you understand your principles, standards, and values, and going back is key because you're absolutely right. It changes. And you're living off of outdated principles, standards, and values and wondering why there's incongruency and disharmony. And so going back to that place, redefining that, because a lot of times it's been created through the pastor, the parent, like what the grandma said, what the best friend from elementary said, all the things that have over our course of our life, we have grabbed a hold to these. And so that's why I was just curious because I found that working with neurodivergent leaders is hard because it's hard to not consider the emotional and psychological experiences that's happened prior to that is, that's coming to the journey. This,
Yeah.
to start their neurodivergent journey, and so it is a delicate balance between the mental health and the psychological, processing of the past in order to embrace where you are today and that identity work. It's just so paramount. So you're absolutely right. And I didn't know what your take was on doing something solely for the purpose of another person. Like, you know?
I consider the other person, if they really have been, if someone that you love is saying something is wrong, you're not showing up the same way you used to, you're not like something that's just if you really genuinely love them, that's just them saying, hey, I love you. What's going on? So it shouldn't feel like an attack, but a, hey, let me go back to myself and see what is
Yeah.
happening.
Where did the shift happen? And making sure that for me, it's really big that the why can start off being someone else, right? But it doesn't need to stay there. It needs to be for you, right?
Yes.
That was my biggest thing. Like once you do that work and you do that inner work, you now shift it from I'm doing this for,
Mhm.
someone else to whether you were in my life or not, I'm doing this for me because I'm worth this.
Absolutely.
I'm not doing this to
Absolutely.
please you.
I love that Bible verse about, and I mean, it's the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself. The thing that people get wrong, in my opinion, is we put so much emphasis on the other because we think that makes sense.
It
I
does.
give to others.
Yeah.
I do this for others. I should treat others this way. The problem is that when that it's so much harder to love yourself
It
I mean,
is.
think about our internal voice.
It
What
is.
is the, we
Yeah.
say way worse things to ourselves than we'd ever say to someone
Yeah.
else. Well, that's what that whole thing was about.
Yeah.
Not about love your neighbor, love yourself enough to not say those nasty things to yourself.
Yeah.
And, um,
Absolutely. I
and
love
that's
that so much.
really hard for most of us. It's the same
Yeah.
concept as receive. Be willing to receive.
Yeah.
Receive help.
Yeah.
Receive the gift. Don't feel an
Absolutely.
obligation to always like, I must give. I must give. I must give. What
There's
about
power
receiving?
in receiving. Yes.
It takes
Yes.
it's humbling. It
It's definitely
brings you to
humbling.
your knees to be
Yeah.
to
To
receive
receive.
someone's love.
Absolutely, it
Uh,
does. Very vulnerable. It's a very
yes.
vulnerable experience. And I love that. I usually ask for for you to leave, one thing with us, but I feel like that is a big one, a big gem that you just dropped in
Yes.
the studio today. Thank you so much just for, gracing us with your wisdom, your insight in such a practical, sobering, delightful way. I can tell that you are doing the work and you're doing it from a place of conviction. And that is, it's beautiful. And for those of you who are listening, just know that there are experts like Denise that are inside the app. If you have not downloaded it, remember to download I Lead, We Rise so that you can get the proper support with real entrepreneurs who live and lead and devote a large part of their life to the very thing that you're struggling in. And this is a sacred place for you to raise your hand, right? Here at Peace Driven Leader Lounge, it's not about how much you carry. It's about how well you carry it. And this is a place for you to be able to carry those things that feel heavy so you don't have to, right? With specialized experts like Denise. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you. Remember, receive. I'm receiving your love and your light on today. And I leave you with this. Peace driven leadership is not something you find, it's something you create. And this now is your moment to create it. Until next time, bye bye for now.